Hi, I'm Ann Thornton, president and founder of MSI Plumbing and Remodeling. We're located in Lebanon, New Jersey in Hunterdon County. I'm actually an accidental businesswoman. I started out as a teacher and I have a master's in vocational counseling. And my husband, whom I met in New York City, had a small property management company, which means doing the administrative and financial management for buildings and condo associations. And we just hired our first carpenter 30 years ago. And from that, the business just really grew. When I first started my career, I thought I would be a teacher and actually thought I would go on to get a doctorate and teach at the college level. But I had some personal changes in my life, i.e. a divorce, and we had no children. And so I left my teaching job in Little Rock, Arkansas, and moved to New York City. Now that was a change, a really good change. And I think I always wanted to be a businesswoman, but women in my generation, we really were told there were just a few things we could be. We can be a secretary, we can be a nurse, we can be a teacher. Most of the obstacles that I've encountered in my career, because it is, I mean, I own a plumbing and remodeling company, is just trying to be heard. Even though I'm the president of the company, sometimes, men in the room will ignore me or speak to another person, another male counterpart in my company or such. So it's constantly trying to be heard. I've pretty much mastered that now. But in the beginning, when you're younger, you're more nervous about that because you don't want to turn people off at the same time. And when you're in business like me, an entrepreneur, it's all about making the payroll every week. There's a lot of things to learn about business, but if you're not making the payroll every week, then you have a losing business. Oh my gosh, I could just give you a whole list. But first of all, I think is be bold. If you have that dream or desire to be someone who wants to be in charge, I mean, I was obviously someone who wanted to be in charge from a young age. I take control of every situation that I walk into. That's like a hallmark of an entrepreneur. And if you have those feelings and skills and tendencies, then be bold. But be thoughtful and be organized and do your research and do your homework and don't have expectations that you're not going to work for it. You are going to work for it. Excuse me, every day you're going to work for it. But I would tell, and I tell young women all the time too, as far as being an entrepreneur, is also never live above your means. I'm in business for 30 years and have ridden the economic downturns here in America on the East Coast because I really practice that. I still live in the same little ranch house. I drive an 8-year-old Subaru, and I'm still in business because I've really watched what I've never kind of outlived. I always wanted to be prepared if there was a downturn, and you can't have that flexibility in life unless you're prepared financially. For me, I think it's helped me a lot because I have a lot of testosterone apparently flowing through these veins because I can just get in there with the guys. Like I said before, I mean, I'm in a construction environment. I could care less about the F-bomb. I throw it around all the time too. I mean, it's just part of how our lives. It's not a big no one is offended. And so I think, the guys respect me for that. And so they know that they don't have to pretend to be someone else when I'm around. And that's fine with me. We're different. I want them to feel comfortable in my company and to know that I'm always supporting them. Okay. My female role models growing up really started with my family. because I was raised by a single mother and my grandmother. So I was surrounded, and her three sisters. So I was surrounded by a lot of women, which I think helped me a lot. And then early on, I grew up in California. My family did kind of a Grapes of Wrath type move to California in the early 60s. And my first really were the feminist icons of that era, Gloria Steinem, those kind of women that were out front saying, something's wrong here. We shouldn't be being treated like this. And she continues to this day to be an icon to me. Her writings, her musings, I mean, everything that she has researched and put out is basically right on. And I think she's really helped change the course of the history of women in America. Well, you have to be really dedicated to what you want to do. And above all, you have to be technically proficient. Now, I'm the first one I am not the plumber in my company, nor am I the carpenter. I know a lot, I'm the businesswoman. I know a lot about it because I've learned about it over 30 years. But, I never profess to be something I'm not. So if someone wants to ask me a question about plumbing, I'll tell them what I know, but then I will always refer them to the technical expert, right? So if you're going to be a woman going into a male-dominated field, I mean, it starts with knowing your stuff. It's the truth. You just have to work harder, and you have to know more, and then you have to be confident enough to just get in there and play with the boys. Well, something I've been working on for quite a while is very exciting, and I've written a book. Would you like to see it? Okay, here it is. It's called Ann Thornton's Insider's Guide to Home Improvement. And it's funny because you can imagine in my business, I'm the marketing director. I'm everything. When you're in business 30 years and you start with one employee, you've done every job, right, along the way until someone else comes along. And so I've spent years doing the marketing for my company, and I've written, oh gosh, probably hundreds of newsletter articles. And then when the internet came aboard, blogging on my website, Facebook posts, just literally hundreds. And so in order to write this book, I literally went back to all of those printouts and computer files because there was no way to copy and paste things. It had to be completely researched, right, and redone. And so I spent weekends, and I only wrote it on the weekends because I'm running my company during the week, right? So this was my weekend project for the last year and a half. And I printed out, I must have had 500 pages, and I literally with scissors cut out every tip that I'd ever written. And then I came up with file folders, electric, plumbing, carpentry, whatever all the trades were. And then I took each one of those, someone would be one sentence long, and dropped them in each of those file folders. And then, when I had them all distributed, opened a file folder, organized them, then started to do more research about each one. And so that's why it took me a year and a half to do the book. But I'm really proud of it. It's got it's for everyone, but it's particularly written for women.